The neural relay station on Phoebe 6 shuddered as the first meteor struck the outer shields. Commander Raver Dalios gripped the edge of the control panel, his knuckles white. The station's warning systems blared through the habitat module, cutting through the artificial peace that had prevailed for the last 3 standard years. "Status report!" Raver barked into his comm unit. "Meteor shower, sir," Lieutenant Kestra answered, her voice crackling with static. "Anomalous pattern. They're not following natural trajectories." Raver's eyes narrowed. Nothing in this quadrant was ever anomalous by accident. The edge of human-controlled space was a delicate diplomatic line, especially with the Vesperi collective lurking just beyond the Haydn belt. "Get me a visual," he ordered, striding toward the main observatory deck. The electromagnetic shields flickered as another impact rocked the station. Through the transparent dome, Raver watched space itself seem to ripple, a distortion that couldn't be explained by mere asteroids. "Sir?" came Engineer Ovion's voice, unusually tense. "We're detecting a vessel. Unregistered signature. It's coming in hot." Before Raver could respond, the observatory lights dimmed to emergency red. On the main display, a sleek obsidian ship slid into view, its hull absorbing rather than reflecting the station's scanning beams. It was unlike any human design, too fluid, too organic in its contours, and utterly silent despite its obvious damage. Plasma leaked from what appeared to be a gashed propulsion system. "Hail them," Raver commanded, though something in his gut tightened. First contact scenarios were theoretical exercises at the Academy, not something that happened on routine patrol assignments at the edge of nowhere. No response came from the alien vessel. Instead, it drifted closer, its damaged systems clearly failing. "Sir, they're on collision course with the station." Kestra's voice had risen an octave. "Impact." In 40 seconds, Raver made a split-second decision. Extend the emergency docking field. Divert all non-essential power to the magnetic stabilizers. "But Commander..." "Do it, Lieutenant." The crew scrambled to comply as Raver raced toward the emergency airlock. Standard protocol demanded quarantine. Procedures for unknown biological entities, but there was no time. If the alien ship hit them at its current velocity, they'd all be space debris within minutes. The station's mechanical arms extended, crackling with energy as they created a cushioning field around the plummeting vessel. Metal groaned against the strain as the ship was gradually slowed, then guided toward the emergency dock. Raver reached the airlock just as the connection was made, the seals hissing as they melded with the alien craft's unusual exterior. He ordered the security team to stand back as he approached the connection point, pulse rifle at the ready. The alien ship's hull seemed to liquefy where it met the station's docking apparatus. Then, without warning, the seal broke inward, and a figure tumbled through the opening. Raver's training took over. He lunged forward, catching the falling form before it hit the deck. Time seemed to stop. In his arms lay something both familiar and utterly foreign, a being with a humanoid shape, but skin that shifted like liquid mercury. Where his hands touched, its torso, ripples of iridescent blue spread outward. The alien's eyes, all 4 of them, flickered open, irises spiraling inward like closing camera shutters. A strange vibration passed from the creature's body into Raver's palms, and suddenly, impossibly, he heard a voice inside his head. "Help, they are coming." The alien's liquid skin solidified beneath his fingers, and for a moment Raver could have sworn he felt something like a heartbeat, rapid and terrified, beneath the metallic exterior. This wasn't just first contact. It was the beginning of something far more complex than Raver Dalios could have ever imagined at the edge of human space. The quarantine bay hummed with nervous energy as Lieutenant Kestra ran another scan on their unexpected visitor. The alien, whom they'd temporarily designated as Visitor Lumina, due to the bioluminescent patterns that pulsed beneath its skin, remained unconscious, suspended in a modified med pod that Ovion had hastily reconfigured for a physiology they barely understood. "Anything?" Raver asked, unable to tear his gaze from the alien's shifting form. The memory of that touch, that desperate mental plea, lingered in his mind like an echo. "It's remarkable," Kestra replied, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding protocol. The epidermal layer appears to be a complex matrix of nanobiological cells, almost like a living metal. And there's something else. She hesitated. The patterns, that formed when you touched it? They're still there, Commander, like an imprint. Raver stepped closer, examining the faint blue ripples that marked precisely where his hands had supported the alien during its collapse. What does that mean? I have no idea, but its vital signs stabilized the moment you made contact. Before Raver could respond, the station's alarms blared again. He swore under his breath, activating his comm unit. Dalios here. Report. The voice of Tactical Officer Merivale cut through the static. 3 vessels just dropped out of FTL. Commander, they're using the same tech signature as our visitor, but bigger, much bigger. Hostile? They're scanning us, sir. Concentrated beams. They've already broken through our first layer security systems. I'm on my way. Raver turned to Kestra. Stay with our guest. If there's any change, Commander, she interrupted. The visitor's vitals are spiking. I think it can sense them. As if responding to Kestra's words, the alien's eyes flew open, all 4 irises dilating in what appeared to be terror. Its metallic skin rippled violently, and the blue patterns left by Raver's touch glowed brighter. Hunters. Vesperi hunters. The voice filled Raver's mind again, louder this time, laced with desperation. Without thinking, Raver moved to the alien's side, placing his hand directly on one of the glowing imprints. Immediately, a torrent of images flooded his consciousness, a massacre, a desperate flight through unfamiliar star systems, and a relentless pursuit by vessels identical to those now scanning their station. They're after you, Raver murmured, understanding dawning. You're a fugitive. Not fugitive. Savior. The mental voice grew stronger. I carry what they would destroy, the last of my kind's future. Commander, Kestra said sharply, you need to... See this. She pointed to her scanner display where a new reading was appearing. Inside the alien's abdominal cavity, a cluster of energy signatures pulsed in rhythm with its heartbeat. Raver's eyes widened as he made the connection. Those are offspring? You're protecting your children? The alien's hand, a 5-fingered appendage with joints that bent in impossible directions, rose to touch Raver's wrist. Where they connected, both human and alien skin glowed with the same iridescent blue. Not just offspring. The last generation. The Vesperi would exterminate us all. Your touch, your bioenergy, is compatible. The first compatible species we've found. Without you, they cannot survive. The station rocked as the first energy probe from the hunting vessels struck their shields. Sir, Merivale's voice crackled over the comm. They're demanding we surrender our contraband biomatter immediately, or face annihilation. Their weapons are powering up. Raver looked into the alien's 4 swirling eyes and made a decision that would change the course of human history. Seal the medbay, he ordered Kestra, and get me Admiral Valine on a secure channel. We're about to rewrite first contact protocols. As the Vesperi ship surrounded the station, Lumina's hand tightened around Raver's wrist, and for the first time, Raver felt something beyond the telepathic communication, a profound sense of trust that transcended species and space. Admiral, Nixella Valini's holographic projection flickered in the command center, her expression hardening as Raver explained the situation. Let me get this straight, Commander, she said, each word precisely measured. You've made unauthorized contact with an unknown alien species, discovered it's carrying what amounts to biological contraband, and now 3 warships from yet another. Alien species are threatening to destroy Phoebe Station unless we hand over our visitor. That's accurate, Admiral, Raver replied, standing straighter. And I'm formally requesting permission to grant this being asylum under the Pleiades Accords. Valine's eyebrows shot up. The Pleiades Accords are for sentient refugees, Dalios. With all due respect, Lumina is sentient, intelligent, and fleeing genocide. My recommendation stands. A tense silence stretched between them, before Valine nodded curtly. I'm dispatching the ESV Artemis to your location. ETA 4 hours. Until then, stall the Vesperi however you can. No provocations, Commander, that's an order. As the transmission ended, Raver turned to find Engineer Ovion waiting with an unsettled expression. "Sir, there's something you need to see in the med bay." Raver followed Ovion through the station's corridors, noticing how the crew's eyes lingered on him with a mixture of awe and concern. News of their visitor had spread quickly through Phoebe's small complement. The med bay doors slid open to reveal Lumina standing upright, or what passed for standing in a being with joints that seemed unconstrained by conventional anatomy. The blue imprints of Raver's hands had spread, creating an intricate network of luminescent patterns across the alien's mercurial skin. "Commander," Kestra said, her voice hushed with wonder, "watch this." She approached Lumina with a medical scanner. The alien recoiled slightly, its skin dimming. Then Raver stepped forward, and immediately the patterns brightened. Lumina extended a hand toward him, and involuntarily, Raver found himself reaching back. When their fingertips met, the connection was instantaneous and profound. "They have sent a demand," Lumina's voice echoed in his mind. "I sense their communication frequencies. They claim I am a thief of sacred genetic material." "Are you?" Raver asked aloud. "I am the last custodian of my people, the Avalari. The Vesperi came to our world as allies, then revealed themselves as conquerors. They harvested our biological technology, then sterilized our population. These embryos I carry are the only unaltered Avalari left in existence." Images flashed through Raver's mind, a world of living metal and bioluminescent cities, then the same world burning under concentrated energy weapons. The anguish that accompanied these visions was overwhelming. "How can I help?" Raver asked, aware of Kestra and Ovion watching the one-sided conversation with fascination. "Your touch awakened their dormant systems," Lumina explained. "Avalari offspring require bioenergetic imprinting from a compatible species to fully develop. For generations we searched the galaxy for compatible beings. We found none, until now." "You mean humans? We're compatible?" "Not all humans. You, Raver Dalios, your specific bioenergetic signature." The revelation hit Raver like a physical blow. He was not merely the first human to touch this alien. He was potentially the only human who could save her species. "Commander," Ovion interjected, "the Vesperi are demanding a response. They've given us 30 minutes before they open fire." Raver looked at his hands, then at the alien whose fate and the fate of her entire species seemed inexplicably linked to him. "Tell them," he said slowly, "that we're preparing to transfer the contraband, but require time to follow proper biohazard protocols. Then get me schematics of their vessel configurations." "Sir?" Kestra questioned. "If the Artemis won't arrive in time, we need options." Raver turned to Lumina. "How much do you know about Vesperi warfare tactics?" The alien's 4 eyes spiraled inward thoughtfully. "They are predictable in their arrogance," came the response. "And I am familiar with their vessel vulnerabilities." For the first time since the crisis began, Raver allowed himself a grim smile. "Then let's give them something unpredictable." As the station's crew prepared for the confrontation ahead, neither human nor alien noticed that where their hands remained joined, the blue patterns had begun to spread to Raver's skin as well, a subtle change that would soon alter more than just the outcome of this standoff. "The Vesperi are hailing us again, Commander," Merivale announced, his fingers dancing across the tactical display. "They're getting impatient." Raver studied the holographic projection of the 3 Vesperi vessels surrounding Phoebe Station. Their hulls resembled polished obsidian, interrupted only by what appeared to be crystalline weapon ports. According to Lumina's knowledge, shared through their increasingly seamless mental connection, these ships were hunter-class vessels, designed for pursuit and capture, rather than outright destruction. A small advantage, but Raver would take what he could. "Open a channel," he ordered, straightening his uniform. Beside him, Lumina stood tall, though invisible to the transmission. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a Vesperi commander. The alien resembled an insectoid mantis crossed with something reptilian, chitinous plates covering a whipcord-thin body, and multifaceted eyes that glittered with cold intelligence. "Human station," The Vesperi's voice came through the translator as metallic and harsh. Our patience expires. Surrender the Avalari genetic thief immediately. Raver maintained a neutral expression. We are preparing the transfer as requested. However, as this is first contact between our species, I propose we establish diplomatic protocols before proceeding. Clever, Lumina's voice whispered in his mind. The Vesperi value formality above all else. The Vesperi commander's mandibles clicked in what might have been irritation. Your delaying tactics are transparent, human. We have scanned your station. We know the Artemis battlecruiser approaches. It will not arrive in time to save you. Raver felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. The Vesperi knew about the Artemis. Their intelligence capabilities were greater than anticipated. Then perhaps we should discuss terms, Raver countered. The being you seek has requested asylum under our laws. What exactly are the charges against? Silence! The Vesperi commander's voice vibrated with rage. The Avalari committed the ultimate sacrilege. They stole sacred genetic material that rightfully belongs to the collective. Their punishment was just. Lies, Lumina's mental voice hissed. They decimated my people because we refused to share our biotechnology. Then they harvested it from our corpses. Raver made a subtle gesture, and Ovion began implementing their contingency plan, rerouting power to the station's shields and preparing the emergency shuttle for launch. I understand the seriousness of genetic theft, Raver said carefully. But surely there's room for negotiation. Perhaps we could arrange a scientific exchange. Your time has ended, the Vesperi commander interrupted. Prepare to be boarded. The transmission cut abruptly, and the tactical display showed the central Vesperi vessel moving closer, extending what appeared to be docking apparatus. They're going to cut through the outer hull, Merivale warned. Estimated breach in 10 minutes. Raver turned to Lumina, their eyes meeting in silent communication. It's time for Plan Omega. The alien nodded, metallic skin rippling with anxiety that Raver could now feel through their connection. As they hurried toward the emergency shuttle bay, Raver became aware of an odd sensation in his hands, a tingling that spread up his arms. Glancing down, he saw faint blue patterns like luminescent veins tracing beneath his skin, where he'd repeatedly touched Lumina. Commander, your hands, Kestra gasped, noticing the change as she joined them at the shuttle. It's nothing, Raver insisted, though he could feel something altering within him, a strange resonance between his bioelectrical field and Lumina's alien physiology. The imprinting goes both ways, Lumina explained as they boarded the shuttle. Your cellular structure is adapting to mine as the embryos have adapted to yours. It is unprecedented. Will it harm him? Kestra demanded, already prepping the shuttle's medical systems. No, it strengthens our connection, and it may be our only advantage. The station shuddered violently as the first Vesperi cutting beams pierced the outer hull. Alarms blared throughout the complex. Launch sequence initiated, Ovion announced from the pilot's seat. But Commander, they'll pursue us immediately. That's what we're counting on, Raver replied, strapping himself in next to Lumina. Execute the Haydn maneuver on my mark. As the shuttle detached from the station, the 3 Vesperi vessels immediately changed course, abandoning their assault on Phoebe Station to pursue the smaller craft. They've locked onto us, Merivale reported grimly. Weapons charging. Raver looked at Lumina, then placed his glowing hand over the aliens. Now. Transmitting Vesperi security codes, Lumina communicated, her 4 eyes spinning rapidly as she interfaced with the shuttle systems through the neural link that had formed between them. On the tactical display, the Vesperi vessels suddenly hesitated, their weapon systems momentarily confused by the false identification signals Lumina was broadcasting. Signals that identified the shuttle as a high-ranking Vesperi command vessel. It's working, Kestra exclaimed. For about 30 more seconds, Ovion cautioned. Then they'll burn through the deception. Raver nodded grimly. That's all we need. Helm, execute full burn toward the Haydn belt. As the shuttle accelerated toward the densely packed asteroid field, Raver felt the connection with Lumina intensify. Through her eyes, He could suddenly perceive gravitational currents and radiation patterns invisible to human senses, a navigational advantage they desperately needed. Behind them, the Vesperi vessels recovered from their confusion and gave chase, energy weapons charging for a killing blow. The shuttle plunged into the Haydn Belt, a chaotic maze of asteroids and debris clouds that marked the boundary between human-controlled space and the unknown territories beyond. Raver's hands moved across the controls with uncanny precision, guided by Lumina's extrasensory perception, feeding directly into his consciousness through their strengthening bond. "Hard to port!" he shouted, banking the craft sharply around a tumbling asteroid larger than the station they'd left behind. The Vesperi pursuers, too large and unwieldy for such maneuvers, were forced to blast their way through, losing precious distance. "Commander," Kestra called from the science station, "your biometrics are changing. Your neural patterns are synchronizing with Lumina's at an accelerating rate." Raver barely heard her. The blue luminescence had spread further up his arms, creating patterns that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat and with Lumina's. Through their connection, he could sense the precious cargo she carried, the embryonic futures of an entire species responding to his bioelectrical signature, growing stronger with each passing moment. "They are awakening," Lumina communicated, her mental voice filled with wonder. "Your presence is catalyzing their development faster than I anticipated. Is that dangerous?" Raver managed to ask, even as he guided the shuttle through an impossibly narrow gap between two colliding asteroids. "Not dangerous. Miraculous. But the Vesperi will sense it." The embryos emit a distinctive energy signature when active, as if confirming her words. The tactical display showed the pursuing vessels adjusting course, their weapon systems reconfiguring to target the shuttle with greater precision. "They've locked onto us again," Marivale reported grimly. "Impact in 60 seconds. Ovion looked up from the engineering console. "Commander, I've been analyzing the Vesperi weapon signatures. Their targeting systems are calibrated for the specific energy frequency Lumina emits. If we could somehow mask or alter that frequency." Raver exchanged a look with Lumina, a plan forming simultaneously in their increasingly shared consciousness. "The synchronization between us," he said slowly. "Could we use it to create a harmonic distortion?" "Yes," Lumina answered immediately, "but it would require deepening our connection to dangerous levels." "Dangerous how?" Kestra demanded. Lumina's four eyes fixed on Raver. "The changes to your cellular structure would become permanent. You would become neither fully human nor Avalari, but something between." The implications hung in the air as the shuttle shuddered from a near miss. Fragments of a destroyed asteroid pelted their shields. 40 seconds to weapons impact, Marivale warned. Raver made his decision. "Do it." Before anyone could object, he pressed his glowing hands against Lumina's face, initiating the deepest connection yet. The blue patterns exploded across his skin, racing up his neck and across his face. Pain lanced through his body as cellular structures reconfigured, but beneath the pain was something else, a sensation of expansion, as if his consciousness was stretching beyond normal human limitations. Through newly enhanced senses, Raver suddenly perceived the energy field surrounding the shuttle, including the targeting beams from the Vesperi vessels. Together with Lumina, he began to manipulate his own bioelectrical field, creating a counter-frequency that rippled outward. On the tactical display, the Vesperi targeting systems faltered, their energy signatures wobbling as they lost lock-on. "The shuttle. It's working," Ovion exclaimed. "Their targeting computers can't compensate for the frequency shift." Raver barely heard him. Through his connection with Lumina, he had become aware of something else, a massive gravitational anomaly, hidden within the densest part of the Haydn Belt. "The Nexus," Lumina's voice explained in his mind. "A natural wormhole my people discovered generations ago. The Vesperi know nothing of it. It leads to a star system where my offspring could safely mature." "Can we reach it?" Raver asked, his voice altered, resonating with harmonics that hadn't been there before. "Yes, but no human has ever attempted passage. The gravimetric distortions would tear apart any conventional vessel." Kestra had been monitoring their vital signs. "Commander, whatever you're planning, your physiology is already at the breaking point. Any more stress could plot a course for the anomaly," Raver ordered, his decision made. Maximum thrust. The shuttle lurched forward, diving deeper into the asteroid field, toward a region that appeared empty to conventional sensors but that Raver now perceived as a swirling vortex of space-time distortions. Behind them, the Vesperi vessels regained partial targeting capability and fired, their energy beams cutting through space milliseconds behind the shuttle's trajectory. As they approached the invisible threshold of the Nexus, the shuttle began to shudder violently, structural integrity alarms blaring. "Hull temperature rising," Ovion shouted over the cacophony. "We're breaking apart!" Raver turned to Lumina, their faces now both illuminated by the same bioluminescent patterns. In that moment of crisis, their minds fully merged, and he understood completely what needed to be done. Together, their shared consciousness decided. Raver Lumina placed their 4 hands on the shuttle's control panel, channeling their combined bioelectrical field through the ship's systems. The blue luminescence spread from their fingertips into the shuttle itself, reinforcing the failing molecular bonds with living energy. As the Nexus engulfed them in blinding light, the pursuing Vesperi vessels fired one final desperate volley, only to have their beams distorted and reflected back by the gravimetric anomaly, destroying the lead pursuer in a spectacular explosion. The shuttle, now as much a living entity as a machine, passed through the threshold of possibility, carrying with it the improbable hybrid of 2 species and the embryonic future of a third, toward a destiny that neither human nor Avalari could have imagined alone. The shuttle emerged from the Nexus into a star system unlike any in charted space. Twin suns, one blue-white, one amber, cast their light across a planetary system where rings of crystalline matter connected worlds like a cosmic necklace. Inside the craft, the transformation was complete. Raver opened eyes that now contained spiral irises within his human structure. While Lumina's mercurial skin had taken on a warmer, more organic texture, they were different from their original forms. A new hybrid existence born of necessity and connection. "Commander?" Kestra's voice was hesitant as she approached, medical scanner in hand. "Are you still you?" Raver smiled reassuringly, though the expression carried new harmonic movements that hadn't existed in human facial muscles before. "I'm still me, Lieutenant, just more than I was. We are both ourselves in something new," Lumina added, her thoughts now audible to the entire crew through the shuttle's communication systems, which had been altered by their combined bioelectrical field. Ovion looked up from the engineering console, his face a mixture of awe and scientific fascination. "The shuttle's hull has been fundamentally altered at the molecular level. It's developing self-repair capabilities, similar to Lumina's physiology." "Where are we?" Merivale asked, staring out at the unfamiliar constellations. The Avalari called. "It Nascentia," Raver answered, knowledge flowing from Lumina's memories into his own. "A sanctuary system, hidden from the Vesperi by the Nexus. It's where they plan to rebuild, if they ever found a compatible species to help nurture the embryos." As the shuttle glided toward the 3rd planet, a world of gleaming oceans and continent-spanning forests of crystalline vegetation, Raver felt movement within Lumina's abdomen. The embryos, now fully activated by the sustained contact with his bioelectrical field, were preparing for the next stage of development. "They need a suitable environment," he explained to the crew. "Somewhere they can grow and eventually take physical form." Kestra's scientific curiosity overcame her initial shock. "You mean they'll be born? Here?" "Not exactly born," Raver replied, sharing Lumina's knowledge. "Avalari offspring develop in stages. They'll emerge as energy patterns, first then gradually coalesce into physical forms over several cycles of the twin suns." The shuttle's sensors detected a suitable landing site, a valley near an ocean of what appeared to be liquid crystal, sheltered by mountains that radiated a gentle bioelectrical field similar to Lumina's. As they descended through the atmosphere, Raver and Lumina moved in perfect synchronization. their actions flowing together in a dance of shared purpose. The rest of the crew watched in silent wonder, witnesses to something unprecedented in human history. Once landed, the shuttle's hatch opened to reveal a world bathed in the dual light of the binary stars. The air carried scents that had no analog in human experience, complex molecular signatures that Raver could now identify through his enhanced senses. "It's perfect," he breathed, stepping onto the surface of Nescentia. Where his feet touched the crystalline soil, ripples of blue energy spread outward, as if the planet itself recognized his hybrid nature. Lumina followed, her four-eyed gaze taking in the world that would become home to her people's rebirth. "Our ancestral custodians spoke of this place in our oldest memories," she communicated. "They said it would welcome us when the time was right." The crew cautiously exited the shuttle, their human senses overwhelmed by the alien beauty surrounding them. Crystalline vegetation chimed softly in the breeze, creating harmonies that seemed to respond to their presence. "What happens now?" Ovion asked, adjusting his equipment to record the unprecedented environment. Raver turned to face his crew, the blue patterns beneath his skin pulsing with newfound energy. "Now we have a choice. The Nexus remains open. You can return to human space, to Phoebe Station and the Artemis, or we can stay," Kestra finished, understanding dawning in her eyes, "and witness the rebirth of a species." Lumina stepped forward, placing her hand on Raver's chest, directly over his heart. "The embryos need time to adapt to this environment. Your presence, all of your presences, strengthens them. Each human bioelectrical signature provides unique benefits to their development." "Are you saying they could bond with us too?" Merivale asked, both wary and intrigued. "Not as completely as Raver and I," Lumina clarified, now speaking aloud through adapted vocal structures. "But yes, your bioelectrical patterns can help shape their growth, help them become stronger." Raver watched as his crew exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between people who had served together for years. Finally, Kestra stepped forward. "I think I speak for all of us when I say that we didn't join Space Command to follow regulations. We joined to explore, to discover. How could we possibly turn our backs on this?" One by one, the others nodded, their agreement. Ovion grinned, already setting up monitoring equipment. Merivale began securing the shuttle's perimeter, ever the tactical officer. As the twin suns began to set, casting the crystalline landscape in prismatic light, Raver and Lumina moved toward the water's edge. Within her abdomen, the embryos pulsed, with increasing energy, ready for transfer to their natural incubation environment. "It's time," she communicated, both to Raver and to the waiting crew. Together, they waded into the liquid crystal shallows. Where their hybrid forms touched the fluid, it began to glow with the same blue luminescence that marked their bonded skin. Lumina's abdominal cavity opened, not painfully, but as a natural unfolding, revealing 12 crystalline spheres, each pulsing with nascent life. Raver cradled them in his transformed hands, feeling the profound connection to these beings who existed because of his touch, his unique human biology that had somehow been compatible with an alien species from across the galaxy. One by one, they placed the embryos into the responsive fluid where they floated, pulsing with increasingly complex patterns of light. The crew watched from the shore, recording the historic moment when two species came together to save a third from extinction. As the last embryo entered the nurturing medium, a massive energy pattern erupted from the water, spiraling upward into the darkening sky. Visible signals broadcasting across the planet's bioelectrical field, announcing the arrival of new life. Raver stood with Lumina in the glowing waters, their transformed bodies silhouetted against the cosmic light show above. Behind them, the human crew watched in awe, already making plans for their unexpected future on this alien world. "We should name them," Raver said softly, watching the embryos begin their first independent movements in the fluid. Each one, Lumina's, four eyes met his spiral irised gaze with profound emotion. "Yes, names that honor both our peoples. They are neither Avalari nor human, but something new, just as we have become." As the twin moons of Nescentia rose above the horizon, their light reflecting off the crystal sea where the future of 3 intertwined species now grew. Raver realized that his impulsive act, being the first human to touch an alien refugee, had changed the course of galactic history. In that moment, standing between worlds with the imprint of his hands permanently etched into Lumina's being, and her essence, forever merged with his, Commander Raver Dalios finally understood the true meaning of first contact. It wasn't about protocols or diplomatic strategies. It was about connection, the profound, transformative power of one touch across the stars. Above them, the first of the embryos began to emit a harmonic pulse that matched the combined heartbeats of its surrogate parents. Around them, the planet Nascentia responded with welcomes written in light and sound, a homecoming for beings who had never before set foot on its surface. And across the galaxy, the Vesperi collective would soon learn that in their quest to exterminate the Avalari, they had inadvertently created something far more powerful. A hybrid species with the resilience of humanity and the biological wonders of their intended victims, now flourishing beyond their reach. On the shores of a crystal sea under alien stars, a new chapter in the cosmic story had begun, all because one human reached out his hands to catch a falling star.